All right, Graham. We're supposed to do a post-game show about whatever we just saw. What are we supposed to talk about? Really?
I was informed when the powers that be at 1010XL headquarters said, "Hey Dylan, hey Graham, do a post game reaction to that football game they're going to be playing in Gainesville." I was looking around all afternoon. I didn't see much football get played. I saw a weather delay. Well, actually, I saw a team from Texas play football, but there was a team wearing blue that was on the field, and they didn't play much football. So yeah, I don't really know, man. I guess we'll just roll, and we're gonna speak straight from the heart on this one. I have a feeling.
Um, yeah. It's so funny. I did a post-game show 3 years for this YouTube channel, and it was the year Mullen got fired.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm doing this all over again, man.
Well, that's because you are. You don't feel like you're doing it all over it. You are doing it all over.
I mean, it's exactly deja vu. I'm using the same laptop, the same dining room table, the same chair from the same view.
Mm-hmm.
Just 3 years apart, man.
The only difference is you have an incredibly good-looking co-host that's with you now.
Yeah. I used to do it solo. A lot better now talking to somebody rather than just having, Jeff and Micanopy, Florida talking in Facebook group chat.
Were they posting from their rural Central Florida basements?
Yes.
Got it.
Graham, it's over. Like,
yeah. So
put the pen to paper.
Yeah.
Any thought that was even consideration of him possibly staying, you can't change around. Miami was one game.
Maybe Miami's just really good.
Maybe. You can forget about it.
Yeah, no, it's over, man.
The only question is when.
Yeah, it's definitely a matter of when, not if. Look, man, on the bright side of things, if there is a bright side, at least he's making it obvious and quick. Because if the games keep looking like this, I mean, it's a matter of days, man. Maybe not even weeks at this point.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. You play Mississippi State on the road next week, then you have a bye, and then UCF comes at home. Dog, ain't no Gator fans gonna be at that UCF game. No UCF. And have you seen how much those ticket prices are? They're not gonna spend over $100 to go to the UCF game. There's no way.
Shot, man. No shot. Man, half that stadium or more is gonna be in black at this rate, dude. Especially if Billy's still the coach by then. If they don't make a move and they keep looking like this. And what are you seeing on the field that's showing that they're not going to continue to look like this? You know what I mean? So, Dylan, I told you before we got rolling that I wrote a couple of things down I wanted to get to, and this is just kind of the first one. We can get into the nitty gritty as we keep going here, but the first thing I said at the top of my note card here in all caps: fire Napier chants during the game. You heard him, I heard him, everybody watching on TV heard him, everybody that was in the swamp heard him. Dylan, can you inform me of a coach at any point where the fire, whoever fill in the blank chance came, then turned things around and survived?
No,
it doesn't happen, man. It's the old saying, once you get on the hot seat, you don't get off. I don't know how true that always is. The fire so-and-so chance, you don't survive those, bro.
No, to talk about the game, A&M doesn't play their starting quarterback, has an AC sprain. Backup comes in, and you're like, "Oh, this guy can run. Oh, okay, this is gonna work against Florida's. It's gonna be in favor for A&M playing their backup because the starter for A&M is kind of limited to what he can do. He can do third and short, fourth and short, and get a first down. From what I've seen in the second half of that Notre Dame game. And it's like, oh, this dude can make plays. Oh, this dude can run the ball. Kind of look like Cam Ward against Miami when we saw 2 weeks ago. And then you see just the same old, A&M just gashing us, run the ball over and over and over, getting 4, 5, 6 yards a clip. And then the safety play, time and time again, out of alignment, running wide open. Like nothing has changed with the University of Florida on their defense. And I know we're going to talk about the offense eventually, but we said it before the season started, Graham. If they don't change this defense, nothing matters. And it's where we are right now.
I remember the first drive of the game. It's Reed is A&M's backup, right? That played. Reed They get was it a holding call they got that put them pretty far behind the chain? It was like 2nd and 15, something like that. They were kind of in a hole, A&M was, on the first possession of the game. I want to say it was 2nd 15, 2nd and 20, something like that, in Florida territory. In A&M's own territory, sorry. And he takes off right up the middle. I think he has a bright future ahead of him, local guy. But Pup Howard took one of the worst angles at trying to tackle him I have ever seen. And any quarterback with one iota of athleticism was going to get right around that and scoot right up the field, and that's exactly what he did. And they sent pressure. Florida sent pressure on both sides. So once he beat Pup Howard, there wasn't a lot of blue jerseys left to stop him before he was going to get the first down marker. Climb out of a hole when the team you're playing against gets behind the chains. That happened time and time and time and time again. And to what you just said, Dylan, it's exactly what we've seen the entire time that Billy Napier has been here with the defense. It doesn't matter who's at coordinator. It doesn't matter who's calling defensive plays. It just seems to be the same issues over and over and over again. And the most aggravating part to me is like, it sucks when you're watching a defense that you are wanting to be successful get steamrolled and run down their throat and thrown the ball on and made play. Like, that sucks, right? And that's what happened with the Miami game particularly. In this game, that extra added frustration to me, and this happened in more than one game last season, is when you've got an offense dead to rights on like 3rd and longs, and you're still giving it up. Explain to me how that happens consistently over and over, and it's the most frustrating thing to me. That's when I start like getting like legitimately like punching air type of angry, like I'm hitting stuff, whatever. Like, dude, how many times did they get A&M on 3rd and 8, 9, 10 plus?
Oh, the whole time.
And they give it right up. And this is the guy making his first start in the swamp. What are we doing?
Here's the thing. So Florida in the first quarter, A&M's up 10-0. A&M's got 8 first downs to Florida's 1. They're 3 of 5 on 3rd down, 174 yards to Florida's 8. They get 12 minutes of the 15 in the first quarter. Then you have the lightning delay. So then it's like, okay, you basically had a halftime at the end of the first quarter. And then nothing changed in the second half. There was nothing that changed. The only thing that changed was
because of the lightning delay, you basically had 2 halftimes.
Yes.
You had 2 separate chances. Mother Nature gifted you an extra chance after things started really poorly right away. You're down 10-0. And it's like, okay, we have a gift from Christ himself right now to go back in the locker room and reevaluate what the hell we're doing. And it just got worse. All it was worse when they came back in.
They did.
Oh, and then, by the way, now we're at halftime. Oh, by the way, we're going to come back out. It's going to be even worse. Come on, man.
The only difference they did to start the second half was put Lagway in. And that was exciting for a play at the end of the first quarter. And then that's about it. And that wasn't the move. I mean, they went back and forth the whole game. And what was not that it mattered. When it started the third quarter and Mertz drove them down the field, and it kind of showed that they got a rhythm. Like, they should have stuck with Mertz the rest of the game.
Yes.
I mean, I know you and I said Lagway, and a lot of the fans said Lagway because of how Lagway played. I don't know how it's fine, do the first half, because Mertz couldn't do anything, and you had to get a spark because A&M was just going to roll, and that train was not going to be stopped. So you tried Lagway, it didn't work. But then when Mertz came in the second half, and I don't know, it wouldn't have mattered. You wouldn't have won the game. You should have won with Mertz in the second half the rest of the time.
There were 2 separate instances in the second half. The first one was Mertz, and the second one was Lagway, where both of them started to get into a little bit of a groove and move the ball a little bit, throw the ball pretty well. Like, they were finding guys. They were hitting open guys. Like, they were doing things. And then the next drive, you'd put the other guy in. Bro, like, why? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, how can you be an offensive guy that played quarterback yourself and you are the play caller? You are the guy who has his thumb on the pulse of this offense. It is your offense. And he has no feel for that kind of thing. And it shows up in his play. It should have been his play calling since he arrived in Gainesville. He's never had a feel for the flow of the game and how to call plays appropriately depending on down and distance, certain situations in the game, certain guys playing well, certain guys not playing well. He's never had a good feel for that. And then now you're mixing in two quarterbacks throughout the game. Like, big surprise, he's got no feel for that either. Like, we can't be shocked by this, man. By the way, I'm wearing the old Gator logo here. I'm wearing the old Gator logo, and people that are gonna make comments, I don't know how you can wear Gator stuff right now. I'm wearing the throwback to remind us of better times. I'm wearing a throwback to remind us of when we have run 2 QB systems in the past and it was actually good. Leak Tebow, Johnson, Palmer, whatever. We all know that. We all know those things. But
Treon Harris, Jeff Driscoll.
Yeah, of course. How could I forget the best one? But look, man, back to something you said real quick, because you mentioned when Mertz went down the field and scored. That was relatively early in the second half, that touchdown to Badger. Good drive, right? Good drive. Like, they weren't running the ball amazing, but they were running the ball a little better. They were actually protecting Mertz pretty well. Like, some decent concepts, like underneath stuff to get somebody open on the other side. Some crossing routes that were working to DK and Badger being the main 2 guys that were kind of facilitating that. They're going to score. Okay, they're going to score. It's 20-7 at that time. Okay, like, not great. You've had a bad game so far objectively, but 20-7, like, you get a stop here. You get back on offense. You go score again. Now we're talking. Like, now you might get the swamp into it a little bit again. Like, now we might have a little mojo. I wrote down here because I was in the middle of putting notes down for this pod, knowing we were going to do this. After they scored, I said, will the defense respond? ? And I left a little blank that I could fill in. About 30 seconds later, I was writing down, no. Because they gave up like an 80-yard touchdown. DJ Douglas blew the coverage, didn't know where to be. And you got Dylan, you and I are the most mediocre flag football players that exist. We both could have scored on that touchdown, dude. It was like, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing?
What? His name is Douglas, right? Number 12, the safety.
DJ Douglas, yeah.
Okay, that dude had his eyes in the backfield every time whenever he gave up a deep play. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why you're running a too high safety. Your only job is to keep everybody in front of you. And this dude's eyes are in the backfield, not where they're supposed to be. And people are running behind him every time. Like, I don't – that baffles me, man. I don't get that. And then another thing that I was going to mention, too, about the offense, dude, we can't run the ball.
Cannot run the ball, man.
At all.
And can't stop the run on defense either. So it's like, I mean, how many times have we talked about that on this podcast? But we're not the only podcast, by the way. I mean, any football podcast that you'll ever listen to is going to tell you that football is about, can you run the ball? Can you stop the run? Because the answer is no to both of those. It doesn't matter how good your passing game looks. You're going to lose. And Montreal Johnson cannot get anything going. I don't think it's his fault. There's 3 people on top of him every time he touches the ball. But something's got to change with the backfield, man. It might not be a Montreal Johnson thing specifically, but to you, do you see the same thing that I see? To me, it feels like when Treon Webb's in the game, there's just a little more pop. Mm-hmm. It just does. Yeah. And later,
and I don't know why, but that's like when he went in, it was like, oh, okay, he got 6-8 yards here.
Mm-hmm. It feels not to this extreme, but it feels a little like P-Ryan and Dameon Pierce. Remember back then in 2019, they really struggled to run the ball with P-Ryan. That whole year, they couldn't really run the ball very well. But when Dameon Pierce would get in the game, it just seemed like there was a little more pop. It seemed like he finished runs a little better, like maybe an extra yard or two, and a little more quickness. So, like, if there was maybe a little sidestep pull to get an extra wiggle and get somewhere to more green grass, he was getting it. It seems that way with Webb. But look, man, I don't know that it matters. It ain't like they got road graders up front that are going to push this. It's not like if you put Webb in the game, they're going to all of a sudden rush for 150 yards a game. Like they can't run the ball because of play calling and because they're not tough enough and strong enough and good enough up front.
No, they're not good on the offensive line. Period. They can't pass protect at all. When you can't run, you can't control the clock like you just saw with. I mean, what you just saw with A&M is what you want to have in a football team most of the time. If you can run the ball consistently, you can control the clock. You can keep the ball away from the other team, and it forces the other team to then essentially play from behind, and you're playing catch up the whole time.
Yeah.
And I mean, you play Mississippi State next week. You go on the road, and I don't know anything about Mississippi State, but they play some cupcake team tonight. Nothing's going to change, whether Bailey's the head coach or not. It's just going to be the same old, same old. We thought going into this game that some things might change. We were like, the Utah game wasn't good last year. You're on the road. Then you come at home. It's like, oh, okay, you beat Tennessee. And it's so funny how coming to this year, man, it was like, we all knew November was just like, you're not going to win. You might win one game in that gauntlet. But before then, you're like, okay, you're at home at all of these games. And Billy has struggled on the road, but he's been decent in his tenure at home. It's like, dude, that don't even matter no more, man.
If we were to look back at our podcast from this summer, talking about 5-2 before Georgia and 6-1 before, we would laugh at ourselves. We'd be like, those idiots thought that this buffoon was going to come out there and win 5 or 6 games before the Georgia game. I mean, no shot.
This was during like one of the dead periods, like in July. I said, I had a topic. How does Florida have one loss going into the Georgia game? And that was a legit thought I had.
We have a time machine and swap out the coach and put somebody else. That's how they do that.
Take the coach and get about what about?
There were 3 games in, including a cupcake, and that already is not attainable.
No. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do moving forward. I mean, Mertz is clearly better than Lagway. Lagway's just not ready. Mertz
he's not ready, but the season is literally already shot. So I think you should still play him just to let him get ready. Because who cares if he struggles? The season's over. The season's cooked anyway.
None of that matters. And
I'd rather play him, even though he's not ready, and let him get the reps in, learn how to play, get better, yada, yada, versus like Mertz is not here next year. There is no future. I don't know if Lagway's going to be here next year either, but just assuming and hoping he might be with a new coach, maybe you get a new coach that maybe convinces him to stay. That's probably a conversation a little bit later down the road. But I'd rather just play him and just see if he can develop into something than just, Mertz today played better for sure. But what's the future in that? You know what I mean? And this staff does not have a future. I'm not saying that, but maybe Lagway does with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, you play Lagway because he's the future one, obviously, and then you're almost kind of recruiting him to say like, obviously, not this is the future, like this is the plan that we have for you for the future because those guys aren't going to be here. But yeah. I mean, I don't know because if you sit him on the sideline, he's definitely not. I mean, that doesn't do anything.
His body language today was concerning, man.
And that's another thing too. Like when he came in against Miami, he wasn't expected. I don't think he was expecting to play. And then he gets in. Miami's probably not expecting him to play. Just goes in, no pressure. Last week you played Sanford. Sanford didn't have one NFL body on that team. Shows out, does well. Now going to this game, you're expected to. I'm sure Napier's told him you're going to get the second drive. We're going to switch drives. Okay, now you're going to process that all week, and I'm sure that had to do a little bit with his confidence. And another thing too with changing the quarterbacks, man, you can't get a rhythm. Playing quarterback is not like swapping in a running back, swapping in a Mike linebacker. Like you are a coach on the field, and you got to have a rhythm. Well, number one, you can't build a rhythm, one, when you don't have a run game, and two, when you can't pick up first downs. And then number three, when Mertz plays the first drive, doesn't play the second drive, there's a halftime practically after the first quarter, and then he came back, in the middle of the second quarter? That's like almost an hour. Then you get a halftime, the real halftime after the end of the second quarter. Third quarter has a drive. All right, he's clearly better than Lagway today. And then we continue to do the same thing over and over.
This gets back to what we were talking about in terms of the like when your offense needs some type of answer that it does not have. I think it's okay to go into a game with the plan of, all right, we're going to play two guys. That said, if you're going to have them alternate drives like they did, then once one guy starts to pick it up and get that rhythm that we're talking about, feel the flow of the game and let him continue to play. I mean, I think a decent amount of people are going to agree with us on this topic that they should have kept Mertz in. That's crazy considering the conversation we've been having all week that the two of us included and everybody else wanted Lagway to play, but we watched the game with our eyeballs, man. Mertz played better, and they just still are sticking to the same weird thing. By the way, did you see before the game Napier's answer to the question on how they were going to, like, technically manage the reps? Napier said, we're going to play Lagway in specific drives.
I did not see that.
What the hell does that mean, dude? By specific drives, he just means every other drive. Like, man, he's really cooking here, dude. He's really like, really, that's big brain Billy right there, man. Like, really in his bag today. I mean, come on, bro. Like, this guy is a joke, man. He's a joke. He does not belong at the University of Florida. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. Everybody that hears this is agreeing. But I got to get this off my chest, man. I'm glad we're doing this pod because there's just things that are building up as I'm watching this game. They got to get out. Another thing I wrote down here that I want to run by you real quick.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking through my phone to see if Billy's taken to the podium and said anything. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm scrolling through my phone. So if I look distracted, that's what I'm
doing. No worries. Jesse Palmer, University of Florida alumni, played quarterback here under one Steve Spurrier. The ultimate professional when calling games. He's very like, but like he knows what he's doing. He does a good job. But Jesse's very like by the book type of guy when he calls games, right? He said during a drive, I just wrote exactly that was funny. He was talking about the absence of Trey Wilson, and they gave Tank Hawkins like an end around. They normally would have given to Trey Wilson, and Jesse was making the point that, like sometimes you got to get creative with end arounds and stuff to run the ball on days like this when your running game has struggled. And I thought to myself, Jesse, brother, that's every game. That ain't just today. That's not days like today. That's all the games. That's all the games that they play, dude. They cannot run the ball. Like the end arounds and stuff that normally go to Eugene Wilson. You and I know this. Bet every dollar you ever made, every game, that the first drive they're going to give some type of end around or something like that to Eugene Wilson on days that he plays. And now it's probably going to be Tank Hawkins if three can't go. But just good old-fashioned run the ball downhill, they can't do that. They cannot do that with any success. And they can't do it, in my opinion, for two reasons. They can't do it, A, because it is so predictable when they do it. Okay, it's 1st and 10. We've just started the drive. We're in the pistol. Right. We're in the pistol, and we're going to run it. Like, big shock. Dude, we're all stunned in the stadium.
We've done this since Anthony Richardson has been the quarterback.
I know. It's the same stuff, bro.
There's nothing different. We bring a motion guy. Sometimes the DB runs with a motion guy. Here. Or the other side.
I was gonna say you got to put the clap in there. Because without the clap, none of it can work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the first reason it doesn't ever work. And then B, they just don't have the offensive line that's gonna push people around like that. If you're gonna be that predictable with your play calling, running the football, then you better have offensive linemen that can move people backwards. And they don't have that. I actually think pass protection wise, there were pockets of the game on certain drives that I actually did think they protected decently well. And that was another point I wanted to bring up. Mertz, I thought, played well when he was protected. The the few drives that the offensive line did their job up front and protected him and gave him clean pockets to work with, I thought he looked really sharp. The times that he struggled, the times that like that first drive that he missed Marcus Burke to keep it going when he overthrew him.
Yep.
That was the really bad miss. Like, he had time on that play and just kind of missed him. That was bad. The rest of the game and times that he struggled, like when he threw the pick six and other times where they just couldn't move the ball, was when Texas A&M was getting to him and they were struggling to keep him upright. And then I noticed as well, after Mertz had a couple of better looking drives, I said, how come it seems like when Mertz is in, he's got time, and when Lagway's in, he doesn't? And I thought, oh, well, no, duh. It's because A&M's D coordinator sees the true freshman and is sending the house at him every time. And Lagway was struggling to pick that up, A. And B, big surprise, I thought his coach was doing him no favors. I mean, you've got this true freshman in the game that is probably not going to be as efficient at being able to pick up a blitz pre-snap and see where things are coming from and see where the pressure is and understand I need to have a hot route or whatever. Okay, so if that's the case, Billy, he's got to know that A&M is going to send extra guys to his true freshman quarterback. You and I know that. Billy has to know that. Throw him some quick game, dude. Give him the end around. Give him some screens. Give him a ton of, what's going on? Why are you sending him to drop back and run the same crossers and stuff that you're doing when Mertz is in there when you know they're going to blitz him? You're setting him up to fail, in my opinion.
What made him good when he came in against Miami and they scored on that touchdown, he had Eugene on a slant left. He had Eugene on a slant right. He used his legs one time. They ran the ball a couple of times, and then they scored a touchdown. I don't think they threw a slant all game, now that I think about it. I don't think a slant –
They threw the one slant, Mertz, to Badger, and that was a pick six.
Pick six, yeah. And, I mean, that was –
But I didn't see Lagway throw a slant, to your point.
Yeah.
Lagway throws a better slant than Mertz does.
Right.
Because if a slant's not wide open, you got to have some zip on there, and it's got to be if it's not wide open. So continue your thought. I mean,
no, I just had that thought that just popped up. Like, Lagway, to continue with bring the blitz, you gotta be able to dumb it to your running back in a swing route, a slant, throw some kind of bubble. Just you gotta have little stuff like that, man. Like, it's common sense to football people, and it's not common sense at the University of Florida.
You've got a true freshman in there at quarterback, and you're not giving him any easy throws. We just talked about a rhythm and how important it is to get in a rhythm. You know how you start a drive getting into rhythm is easy throws. Like, look, we all understand that, Samford, like you just said, they don't have an NFL body on that roster. So you can kind of just go out there and chuck it deep, and you're probably going to beat guys and have some explosive plays and whatever. But against a team like A&M, against an SEC team, like, when you have somebody that can help you produce explosive plays like Lagway because of his arm and because he's that special type of dude, it's typically not going to be right away in a drive, right? It's going to be, okay, I'm going to run a little tunnel screen here, a little dump off to the flat here, or whatever. And then, fourth, fifth, sixth play in the drive, hopefully I'm getting those DBs to creep up a bit. Now I'm going to go over your head. Now I'm going to hit Elijah Badger deep down the field. Now I'm going to hit Chimere Dike on a deep crosser or something like that. But those first couple, it felt like when Lagway was in there, it felt like they were like, okay, he's got a special arm. We know he has a special arm, so let's just try to get 50 yards on the first play every time. And they didn't set that up to happen in the future, which big surprise that the dude that doesn't know how to call plays can't do that.
So Billy Napier he just got to the podium about a minute ago. Scott Carter on Twitter, who covers the Gators for FloridaGators.com. Billy Napier has arrived, says he takes full responsibility. Quote, 2 out of 3 weeks here, we have not played good enough football. I saw that tweet. I wanted to laugh so hard, but I couldn't interrupt you, man. Oh, my God.
I cannot believe that's what he said.
And I don't know.
Couldn't have told you that's exactly what he was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, this dude, he's the most coach speak coach that there is. And did you shocking to nobody, there were fans that waited for Napier at the tunnel after the game and apparently were booing the piss out of him. So, I mean, I don't I don't see how he coaches the UCF game. There's
UCF is in 2 weeks. They got Mississippi State, then UCF.
3. You got Mississippi State bye week.
But yeah. Sorry. 2 games. What I meant.
Yeah,
man. That's a prime opportunity because I mean, what tells you they're going to go to Starkville and play any better? They're probably going to play worse. They're going to be on the road.
Yeah, and then I mean, I don't know, man. This is just, it's just so sad, man. Like, Billy just. This is one thing that I can't stand about college football. Something that is the NFL is a little better at this is that you don't get to see practice. Like the NFL, you get to see training camp. College football, you don't get to see anything in training camp. You get to see a spring game. So the only thing you can go off of is what Billy tells the press at media days, when he goes on, these national podcasts, whatever, when he goes on with Feinbaum. This dude just said nothing but positive things, and you're like, okay, like, we'll be better. Like, I'm just going to take it for what he's at face value. Mertz is going to be better. The bottom line, we got this good. We have this good run game. The defense has made leaps and bounds. That's just coach speak, man. Like none of that was true. None of it was true.
They lost top end talent like Princely Umanmielen on defense. Ricky Pearsall on offense, Trevor Etienne on offense, and they didn't really replace those guys with anybody of any type of consequence.
No, and I mean,
like with Princely Umanmielen being gone, right? So okay, you lost a pretty big name to the portal, sucks, whatever. So one would think, with common sense, that okay, let's go get somebody else in the portal to replace that production. Any update on what Joey Slackman is doing these days? Because it's not producing for the Florida Gators football team. I'll tell you that much. Elijah Badger looks decent. The transfer wide receivers are fine. They're not Pearsall, but they're fine. Nobody's replaced Trevor Etienne at running back. There's nobody that has that kind of explosiveness and quickness on this team. I don't know, man. All they did was lose top-end talent and replace it with people that either aren't ready or aren't good enough.
Yeah, and then when you don't have a guy like Eugene Wilson, who is your only playmaker that can take the top off the defense, I mean, everybody in the back seven of the defense now can exhale, take a deep breath, and go. I mean, who we got to cover? DK, Marcus Burke,
right?
Badger.
Right.
It's not exactly, There's guys that you key on before a game, and that's not cutting it. I'm trying to read. Gosh, dog, hang on. I just had a quote. Napier was asked about the booze. I have no negative comment about that. When you play a certain way in this arena, you are going to be criticized. And then I saw Graham Hall tweet. He was asked why the Gators came out flat. He said, I don't think we came out flat. We just didn't execute. Oh, shocker. Just like he says time and time again. We came right in after the rain delay, watched every single clip, and I think there was there was opportunities to make plays. I think there was a mental error, fundamental mistakes, and we just didn't have the ball, and obviously they kept the ball, so it got out of control early there. It's just the same old, man. I mean, like I said, any slight optimistic person that was going into this game that was asked, maybe if Billy had won this game and maybe you can get a run. There's none of that. And this last one I read from the press. It was asked what makes him the right guy for the Florida head coaching job. Napier said there's been a ton of progress made, but the Gators still need to play more competitive, quality football. Yeah, whatever.
There's been a ton of progress made. Has there not?
And what?
There has been a ton of progress made.
The special teams?
There has been a ton of progress made. Wow, that is $1 million quote right there.
What's really,
when I watch them play football, I don't see a lot of progress.
What really what aggravates me is tomorrow when I go into work and I got to do the Jaguar pregame, I have to record the entire Napier presser and I have to cut every single sound up.
Well, he's such an interesting guy to listen to.
Oh my gosh, that's so motivating. Oh my God, man.
Last comment from me, Dylan, that I want to say is you and I did our midweek pod on Thursday morning, and looking back to some of our comments, which we very much appreciate, everybody that comments and likes and subscribes and does all the above to the 1010XL Gators. Everybody listens. Truthfully, we really, really do appreciate you guys. This has been really fun for Dylan and I getting to do this pod, and we're going to continue to do that. And thank you guys so much for engaging and everything every single week. I saw a couple of comments talking about how negative we were and how this podcast was just so depressing, and why were Dylan and Graham so depressing. That's because what is played on Saturdays is depressing, man. If you're blaming us for being the sad ones, I don't know what team you're watching on Saturday, because it ain't the Gators. If you see the Gators, you're like, yeah, man, that's pretty sad and depressing.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see, we got like almost 700 people in here. We got a lot of comments, so if you want to, spend some time, this will take you about 10 minutes. Some of these are pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, I have seen the comments. I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, this is like I said a year ago, man. And we'll have plenty. I'm not gonna, we're not gonna get deep into this and whatever. Bring on the Lane train, man. Ask him how much you want, and I will sell my soul, and I'll make a deal with the devil to bring home Lane Kiffin. This is not hard. This is the easiest, no-brainer hire ever. Get Lane Kiffin. Period. Make it done.
It's really, man. It's really that simple, dude. I mean, it's really, really that simple. Like, and look, to me, it is that simple. I think that Lane Kiffin would crawl to Gainesville. I think you think the same thing. I think most people believe that. Even if in a worst case scenario he doesn't take the job and falls through for whatever reason, okay. Then whoever else is part of that search, go get somebody with a resume. Okay? I'm so sick of the G5 guy or the low tier, the Colorado State guy, like when they got McElwain, or the coordinator, like when they got Muschamp. No. I am I want Billy Napier out as much as everybody else does. And I believe they're going to fire him soon. So I think, it's a matter of when, not if, like we said earlier in the podcast. But here's the thing. Do not fire him just to go basically rehire him with somebody else. It's at a different place that's the same status as Louisiana or whatever. Go hire somebody that has a resume. I'm done with this, man. We're on the same hamster wheel, because we're going to have the same conversation in 3 years if they do that. Go hire someone that has done something in big-time college football before. You're the University of Florida. There's no reason that you can't do that.
I'm going to bring up this stat, and then this will be the last thing I say. I saw this from Jake Kilgore. I don't know who he is. I saw him on Twitter. Graham Hall retweeted this. Since 2016, Gator head coaches in all sports hired by Scott Strickland. Okay. 86 wins, 398 losses, no titles. Jeremy Foley, 390 wins, 38 losses, 18 national titles. Oh, man. Yeesh. So, if you're not able to get Lane, I don't know who you're going to grab. And I don't have any faith that if he's still the AD, which I don't expect him to leave or go anywhere else. I don't know who you get. But, yeah, when you're at the University of Florida and you ask the coordinator at Texas and you ask the head coach at Colorado State and you ask the head coach at Louisiana or the head coach at Mississippi State, those guys they're supposed to take the job at the University of Florida. The University of Florida somewhere is a top 10 program in the country when you consider all the resources and the recruiting and everything. And all those schools that they offered the job to are not. It's not hard. So, yeah, that's my thought. Appreciate everybody hopping in here for a little venting session. I really didn't even know what I was going to talk about. I wrote a couple of notes, so Graham, I appreciate you taking over the show. I mean, you see something, I'm like, usually I try to have a plan and write down stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. Appreciate
when
everybody
there's
watching.
shows like this to be had, we gotta just let it roll, man. We got everything off the chest. We just gotta let it ride. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate everybody hopping in. Make sure we're subscribing to our Gator YouTube channel, following the Gator Facebook page, and sharing it. We got pretty good numbers for many reasons.
Still Gators on Spotify and Apple if you're a listener.
Yes, the audio. Can't forget the audio people, the old schools. And we'll do a show Monday, and we'll talk about something. I don't know. Maybe we have headway into something that's going to happen in Napier, but I don't know. We'll wait till then. There's a long time from now until Monday morning. So, anything else before we sign off?
Last quick thing is you said after the Miami game that we got plenty of time to talk about a coaching search. You didn't want to talk about it back then. It's here, bro, or at least it's about to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Enjoy y'all Saturday night. Don't drink too much. Don't drink and drive.
Go watch college football because you didn't get to from 3:30 to.
Go watch some college football. And just go off on Facebook to get your venting out, and go to work Monday. It'll be all right. All right. Peace.